Deep in the heart of the Colorado desert, surrounded by miles of silence and sand, lies a fortress so impenetrable it's been called the Alcatraz of the Rockies. ADX Florence, America's highest security prison, stands alone, both literally and symbolically. Its concrete walls don't just hold men, they swallow them whole. From the air, it looks sterile and geometric, like a military compound. But down below, inside those reinforced layers of concrete, steel, and silence, exists a world purpose-built to erase freedom, and sometimes humanity itself. Every detail of ADX was designed with one mission: containment. Not just physical containment, but psychological, emotional, and mental. The men sent here are not ordinary inmates. They are the ones other prisons couldn't control. Terrorists, drug lords, serial killers, spies and traitors to the state. Individuals deemed too dangerous for the outside world, and sometimes even for other prisons. There are no guards walking casually down rows of cells here. Every movement is mechanical, precise and remote-controlled. Doors open with the press of a button, food slides through narrow slots, and prisoners spend 23 hours a day locked inside concrete boxes, measuring barely 7 by 12 feet. Each cell has everything an inmate technically needs to survive: a concrete bed, a stainless steel sink and toilet, a small unbreakable window slanted toward the sky. From that window, they can see only a fragment of the sun, never the horizon, never another human being. Outside, the desert stretches endlessly. Inside, time stands still. They call it the clean version of hell. Yet even here, every sound matters. A door slam echoes like thunder. A distant shout becomes a lifeline. Prisoners learn to communicate through vents and pipes, tapping out secret codes in Morse-like rhythms, the only language left to them. It's said that in ADX, silence is the real warden. The walls don't just contain men, they consume them. But how did this place come to exist? Back in the early 1990s, after a series of violent prison uprisings and escapes across America, the government decided it needed a place where control could never be broken, where the most dangerous men could be completely isolated. And so, the Supermax was born. Construction began with precision and paranoia. Layers of fencing, infrared motion detectors, buried pressure pads, and sniper towers now protect its perimeter. The architecture itself is a weapon, designed to confuse, control, and crush any hope of escape. A former warden once said, "You could drop a nuclear bomb on this place, and the inmates would still be sitting in their cells." But for those inside, survival depends on the mind. Some inmates spend years without touching another human being. Some lose track of the days and begin to hallucinate, hearing voices echoing through the vents. Others find strange comfort in the routines, a coping mechanism in a world stripped of meaning. And yet, despite the isolation, ADX Florence runs with perfect, chilling efficiency. Meals arrive on steel trays through automated slots. Showers are scheduled twice a week, one man at a time. Recreation happens in small concrete yards, roofed with metal grates so that sunlight filters through like shards of glass. Even exercise is solitary. For some, the monotony is torture. For others, it's survival. Over the years, ADX has held some of the most infamous names in criminal history, men whose actions shook the world. But here, names mean nothing. Every inmate becomes a number. Every voice becomes silence. Even staff members describe the environment as emotionally heavy. Some leave after only a few months, unable to bear the oppressive stillness, the weight of so many broken minds. And yet, the system endures, efficient, methodical, and unfeeling. Behind those concrete walls, a question lingers. Is this justice? Or something else entirely? As the day fades into another silent night, the lights in ADX Florence never truly go out. Cameras hum, sensors blink, and somewhere, deep within the walls, a prisoner stares at the ceiling, counting the seconds between the sound of his own heartbeat and the metallic echo of the world's most secure prison. Because here, freedom doesn't die suddenly. It fades, 1 minute at a time. And for the men inside, there's only one thought that never goes away. No one escapes ADX Florence. Inside ADX Florence, time doesn't move. It dissolves. Days blur into weeks, weeks into years. The walls, once just grey concrete, begin to breathe, to hum, to whisper the same word over and over. Isolation. Each prisoner here carries a story, one that began long before the gates closed behind them. The Unabomber, Theodore Kaczynski, wrote manifestos that once shook America. Now he scribbles in silence, his words confined to notebooks no one may ever read. Ramzi Youssef, the man behind the 1993 World Trade Center bombing, spends 23 hours a day in solitude, a life reduced to measured steps and metal sounds. And there are others, cartel leaders, double agents, domestic terrorists, men whose crimes made headlines, but whose punishments remain invisible, buried in the desert. Yet for all their differences, they share one reality, a world smaller than most people's closets. Each cell is a coffin of concrete precision. Every corner is monitored, every breath accounted for. Even the air feels recycled, processed, filtered, sterilized. There are no blind spots, no secrets, no shadows left to hide in. The silence here is not peaceful, it's deafening. Prison psychologists describe the symptoms as segregation syndrome, insomnia, paranoia, memory loss, and self-harm. Some inmates begin to talk to themselves, others to the walls. One former inmate once said, "You stop being a person, you become a sound." And yet, the system was built on the idea of control, perfect, unbreakable control. In ADX Florence, nothing happens by chance. Guards walk corridors lined with motion sensors. Control rooms glow with monitors that track every blink, every movement, every anomaly. Even the smallest deviation, a pause too long, a glance too slow, raises an alert. But beneath that efficiency lies a tension that never fades. Some guards speak of nightmares that follow them home, the echo of footsteps in empty halls, the hollow stare of men who've forgotten their own voices. Others learn to detach, to think of the job as procedure, not punishment. Still, the question remains, how much control can one place truly have over the human mind? Some prisoners resist in strange ways. They read obsessively, memorize books, or count cracks on the wall to stay sane. One man spent years writing his life story with toothpaste and tissue paper, hiding each page behind a vent. Others collapse inward, their minds fading long before their bodies. And sometimes, silence breaks, in the form of riots, hunger strikes, or eerie acts of rebellion, tiny flickers of humanity in a system designed to suppress it. Over the years, lawsuits have challenged the conditions inside ADX, calling them cruel and unusual. Advocates argue that prolonged isolation erodes the mind, that it's not just confinement, but psychological disintegration. The Bureau of Prisons, on the other hand, calls it necessary containment. Safety, they say, comes before comfort. Yet somewhere between justice and survival lies the truth. ADX Florence is not just a prison, it's an experiment in control. Outside its walls, life goes on. The desert winds, the quiet Colorado sky, the endless roads leading nowhere. But for those inside, time has stopped. There is no morning, no evening, only light and dark, only the hum of air vents and the faint echo of their own thoughts. Occasionally, a prisoner is transferred out, to a less secure facility, or sometimes to a grave. Those who leave rarely speak of what they endured. Those who remain endure the same cycle: silence, solitude, and a sliver of sunlight that never changes. And yet, perhaps the most haunting truth is this: ADX doesn't just confine bodies, it transforms them. It takes chaos and compresses it into stillness. It takes rebellion and replaces it with routine. It doesn't just hold men, it reshapes them into something else. By the time many of them are released, if they ever are, they step into the world as strangers, their minds still echoing with the rhythm of cell doors, the metallic clink of trays, and the endless hum of fluorescent light. ADX Florence is a place built not only to contain violence, but to erase it. Yet in doing so, it also erases something deeply human: the ability to feel, to connect, to hope. And as the camera fades on those endless walls, that final question lingers in the air. When a prison becomes this perfect, this controlled, this silent, who is truly free?